democracy needs strong political parties.
For any democracy to survive, we must have strong political organizations.
The process to record PNG's war history has begun. And the Kumuls prepare to take on the Kangaroos in this weekend's clash.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
This is Wednesday's news. Good evening and thanks for joining me again. Strong political parties play a significant role in maintaining a strong democracy within the country. Registered political parties in PNG have to work a lot harder to be able to perform their roles effectively. Since 2013, the Office of the Integrity of Political Parties and Candidates has been running workshops to remind registered political candidates of their duties.
For any democracy to survive, we must have strong political organizations.
The aim of these workshops is to build a strong link between the general public and the political parties in the country. Dr. Gelu says once this link is established, the public will be able to better hold political parties and their candidates accountable. But a lot of work still needs to be done.
Parties in PNG have been described as being weak in many areas, especially when it comes to their organization, when it comes to their structure, when it comes to membership, when it comes to their policies.
Changing the culture of one-man executives that exist in a lot of current political parties is a huge challenge. Another worrying failure is not holding regular party conventions where important issues are discussed among party members and the executives. Dr. Gelu says this culture needs to be changed because having strong political parties will sustain political stability in the country.
People come, people go, but parties they remain. So parties can only remain and they can only be strong if the membership of those parties, they remain loyal to that particular party.
Of the more than 30 parties now registered, only a handful are performing to expectations. A sign of change in party culture in PNG would mean the public can easily differentiate one party from another based on the policies they have on social issues such as education and health.
Right now in Papua New Guinea, it is very difficult.
Dr. Gelu believes the current number of political parties is not manageable.
Parties between 10 to 15. It will be easy for us to manage, and also by then we should start building strong parties as institutions.
The current workshop will run for 3 days and political party representatives from Australia and Solomon Islands will be participating as well. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Constructive dialogue between Puma Energy, the national government and government agencies has been credited for allowing the recommencement of operations at Puma Energy's Napa Napa refinery. Puma Energy Country Manager PNG, Jim Collins, when speaking to EMTV News, says the resumption of activities at Napa Napa would be a boost to the company, its staff and, most importantly, its customers right throughout Papua New Guinea. This announcement follows the successful resupply of petrol back into the Port Moresby market by the company following a 3-week suspension.
The past few months have been difficult for Puma Energy, with the major fuel supplier having to suspend refinery operations at its Napa Napa terminal. Today, its country manager, Jim Collins, spoke to EMTV News about the new developments that have enabled the company to recommence its Napa Napa operations.
The company had been paying for its GST associated with the crude oil it brought in when the products passed through into the local market. That's a standard way of doing things around the world. Earlier this year, Customs actually interpreted that differently, the law differently, and actually wanted to take a different stance where we pay the GST up front. Economically, that has some major issues for the refinery. At that stage, we suspended the refinery's production.
According to Mr. Collins, the close cooperation by all parties involved has been very positive, with Puma Energy now able to recommence its refining operations at Napa Napa.
Over the last few months, we've been working very, very hard with Customs and with the government and with IRC to actually come to some short-term solutions that help us get the refinery started while we work on much longer, more sustainable solutions for the business. That has come to a stage where we're really, really happy to announce that we're actually restarting the refinery, and that's fantastic.
The restart of operations could take up to a month, with Puma Energy employees now being recalled after being placed on extended leave by the company earlier this year.
Teamwork that's been involved has been outstanding. There's always been healthy tension, and that should be, because it's a big issue, so therefore we have to have the right amount of tension. But everybody has gone into this with the right intent. That intent is to make sure that the right investments and the right flow of supply is here in Papua New Guinea for the future, and it's sustainable.
Merabatulo, National EMTV News.
The National Agricultural Research Institute has prepared early maturing crops for farmers to plant during the rainy season that will start in December. NARI's Director General, Dr. Sergi Bang, says the institute will use all of its resources to get the early maturing crops to farmers in areas where there is no food after gardens were destroyed by the frost and dry spells. MTV's Bethany Harriman with this report.
Plots like this one at Bubia, a NARI research center in Ley, is an example of what is being done to supply sweet potato, wheat, corn and beans to areas with no food after being hit by frost and drought. NARI's Director General, Dr. Sergi Bang, has called for support from NGOs, donors and the national government to get these crops to people affected by the El Nino so that they can grow them during the short rainy season starting in December and ending in February.
We need to think of early maturing crops. Crops that will mature within 3 to 4 months. NARI has, through its research, documented some early maturing sweet potato varieties which can mature within 2 months, just a bit over 2 months in the lowlands, 70, 80 days, and in the highlands up to 3 months. There are varieties that can give you a good yield at 3 months in the highlands, 3 to 4 months, and in the lowlands up to 3 months.
The crops in Bubia will be distributed to farmers in lower land communities to plant during the monsoon raining season that will start in December. Places hit with severe food shortages in Morobe include Menyamya and parts of the Bulolo district will need this support. It's estimated that the logistics will cost around 2 million kina. These places are now getting help in the form of disaster relief supplies. The early maturing species of cow dug out by NARI agronomist Cyril Latu whilst inspected by the Director General Dr. Sergi Bang takes about 4 months to mature.
3 months and 98 days, and then beyond that you will start seeing we will start to pour during dry season. So you have to harvest early.
For the Highlands region, places in Western Highlands, Southern Highlands, Enga, Chimbu and the Eastern Highlands have a different variety of crops that are being developed in NARI's outstations in Ayura and Tambul. Whilst in the New Guinea Islands, there is an outstation in Keravat in the East New Britain province also developing early maturing crops for the islands. Those crops should be planted to provide some sort of food security for places that have been categorized in the 4 and 5, the most severe places that are lacking food and water. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Ley.
In an attempt to recover and preserve Papua New Guinea's World War II history, an oral history project has begun to record the experiences of Papua New Guineans during that period. The first part of this project began along the famous Kokoda track, where over 70 stories were recorded and compiled into a book.
They are stories of bravery, love, defiance and death. They tell how some of the young men, in this case from Central Province and Popondetta, were recruited into the Papuan Infantry Battalion to become carriers and laborers during the war. They tell of what some were doing when soldiers landed on their shores. Greg Bablis, a technical officer with the Modern History Department of the National Museum, was part of the team that conducted the interviews. He said this important work needs to be rolled out to the rest of the country as quickly as possible.
We did manage to get about five first-hand accounts. One of them passed away just a few months ago, so we were lucky to have interviewed him last year. He was from Des Moines on the border of Northern and Morobe province.
Director of the National Museum and Arts Gallery, Dr. Andrew Motu, said during the launching of the book that much of what has been heard about Papua New Guineans in the Kokoda campaign and during World War II has been colorful stories told to bring alive someone else's story. He is proud that this first-of-its-kind project will be available to PNG students so that Papua New Guineans will start to learn about history that is told by Papua New Guineans.
We wanted an oral history content of Papua New Guinean participation to help us in the long run animate the management of the Kokoda Trek experience with the Papua New Guinean content.
The recording of these PNG stories and the publication of this book is a collaboration between the PNG and Australian government under the Kokoda initiative. The research team included notable Papua New Guineans such as Dr. John Waiko and war historian McLaren Hiari, who worked alongside Australian academic Dr. Jonathan Ritchie. A student historian, Elizabeth Taulahebo, says being part of this team has urged her to learn more about Papua New Guineans' version of World War II.
To pursue my postgraduate, I am trying to come up with a topic that will deal with the woman perspective, what the women did, how did they contribute during the war.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Among stories coming up after the break, a new interim council for the University of Goroka. Stay tuned for that, plus more. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. Lae's urban development plan was discussed today in a joint consultation with Morabe's provincial administration and other stakeholders. Morabe Provincial Administrator Patilias Kamato says the administration will work with the views of customary landowners. MTV's Colin Baralai reports.
Today, Morabe Provincial Administration, the public and other stakeholders met with Japan International Cooperation Agency to discuss Lae's urban development plan. This first public meeting has also attracted views from Ahi landowners, who are traditional landowners of Lae.
Mobilize our landowners.
The Lae Urban Development Plan for 2015 to 2025 will cover a range of infrastructure, road and industrial development projects. Morabe Provincial Administrator Patilias Gamato says Morabe's 10-year development plan includes the views of customary landowners before project implementations.
Most of the developments that are going to take place are not going to be on government land, they are on customary land. So
JICA's Chief Representative Sugiyama Shigeru at the meeting this morning said the team aims to achieve better results in this development plan.
JICA's support, we would like to come up with a plan which is achievable and implementable in 10 years.
Amongst this audience was Benson Nablu, a community leader at Morabe's Ahi area. He says people must see the initiative as a positive development for the province.
At the same time, they should look at the greater picture. The greater picture is that let's make our land available for development of our area, of our province, of our country.
Lae, being the industrial hub of the country, offers a potential for more developments that can enhance the province. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Lae.
East New Britain Police reveals that incest cases continue to happen almost every day in the province, and to a larger extent, this sex crime has tainted the image of the province. But in this story, the Kokopo Sexual Offence Squad reveals why East New Britain Province is labelled as a province with high incest cases. MTV's Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
East New Britain Province is synonymous with sexual-related crimes and more particularly incest. At the Kokopo Sexual Offence Office, the officer in charge, Sergeant Joe Bimaro, leads a team of 7 officers who attend to these cases every day. In an interview with MTV, the head of Sexual Violence Unit reveals why East New Britain Province has a high number of reported incest cases than any other provinces.
But in East New Britain, we have a good reporting system here. That's why the offenders or the complainants, they come out to report such matters of incest.
This revelation only gives a snapshot of the cases that have been brought before the police. But the police say there are many victims who haven't spoken out yet because of oppressive threats by perpetrators. For others, handing over one of their own family members to the police may not be an easy decision to make within the family. Over the last 20 years or more, the police and other community-based organizations have been fighting sex crimes, including incest, all over the country through conducting community awareness or arresting and prosecuting the perpetrators. While Papua New Guinea laws have deemed incest as a serious crime and culturally wrong, the laws seem to have no effect at all on possible perpetrators.
If we keep quiet and let it go, it's going to happen. I know it's happening in all the provinces, but I don't know why they're not coming out to report the matter.
Many believe the ongoing sex crimes, rape and sexual penetration of minors represents a deeply rooted problem within most of PNG societies, a problem that many people haven't quite understand yet, along with where it starts and why it happens. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
And now let's take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.35 in the interbank market today, and at Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.3425, $0.4801 Australian dollars, 0.3043 euro, and 40.75 Japanese yen. Taking a look at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, copra, crude oil closed the day higher, while palm oil and copper closed lower. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 180 points higher, the ASX closed at 34 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 37 points higher as well. You're watching National EMTV News tonight. Amnesty International highlights concerns of PNG's human rights record, and we'll also bring you stories making headlines overseas. That's coming up after this break. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Oxfam's country director for PNG, Esme Sinapa, told an Australian inquiry into PNG Aid yesterday that PNG needs to declare a state of emergency on sorcery-related violence. The Australian media has reported that Sinapa says sorcery-related violence is widespread and that many have died due to a lack of immediate help. She says although sorcery violence victims are accused of witchcraft, the real issue is about land disputes. Well, Amnesty International has identified 7 points of immediate concern in upholding Papua New Guinea's human rights record. The New York-based NGO called out PNG's police brutality problem with many unrests resulting in deaths, as well as excessive abuse and unregulated violence. They urged for criminal investigation and prosecutions against offending police officers, as well as efficiency in criminal police cases. Amnesty International also pointed out PNG's 2011 commitment to taking appropriate measures to implement the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. Referring to the recent brutal executions of women accused of sorcery, Human Rights Watch urged for a review on the law on sorcery-related killings, calling for an investigation into gender-related violence as well as domestic violence. Around the world, tens of thousands of children suffer from sexual abuse from priests in the Catholic Church, suffering for decades afterwards. But one victim has used her background as an artist to heal herself and others, founding the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, or SNAP, in New York.
The youngest recorded sexual abuse victim of the church is 9 months old. But 25-year-old Megan Peterson was a devout Catholic who stopped by her local church every morning to pray, hoping one day to become a nun. Everything changed when she was assaulted by a priest, originally from India, when she was 14 years old. Although Peterson managed to have him deported back to India, he continues to work at a Catholic school in India with children.
I haven't seen enough change in the sense that we're still having to do this work. We're still on the ground with survivors that aren't being supported by the church. There's still perpetrators allowed within ministry. My own perpetrator being criminally charged and admitting guilt is still, to my knowledge, in good standing within the Catholic Church.
Although the Vatican revealed last year that 848 priests were dismissed over the past decade for the rape and molestation of children, the overall lack of zero tolerance towards child sex abuse is disturbing to many.
There is no zero tolerance for sexual abuse in the priesthood. So in other words, if you've raped or sexually assaulted or sexually abused a child and you're a priest, there is no rule or law in the church that you are automatically removed from the priesthood. Pope Francis, here's what I'd ask him. I'd say, you can't be a woman and a priest in the Catholic Church. I'll accept that for a moment. You can't be a married man and a priest. I'll accept that for the moment. But you can be a child molester and a priest.
In Papua New Guinea, action towards child sexual abuses in the church is either delayed or non-existent. One case is that of Father Roger Mount, who moved to Papua New Guinea in the 1980s with 2 decades of child sexual abuse behind him. A local church council head in Sogeri, where Father Mount worked, told the ABC of child sexual abuse rumors, as well as 2 schoolboys who lived with the priest. But it was only when Australian David McNamara, who was sexually abused by Father Mount when he was 12 years old, came forward that saw Father Mount eventually deported. Alana Lay, EMTV World News.
Well, we have a big lineup in sports. Kumuls prepare for the Prime Minister's 13. Also, Paul Eighton disappointed at not being selected, and more on the Rugby World Cup. Details coming up next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Well, after months of rest, the PNG Kumuls have begun training in preparation for this weekend's Prime Minister's 13. Most of the players for the PM's 13 were selected from the Intercity Cup competition around the country. EMTV's Rafaela Kare reports.
The PNG Kumuls have been training at the Port Moresby International School with the help of the High Performance Training Center team to build the players' fitness. These players have been selected from the Intercity Cup competition. PNG RFL selectors believe the local players. Without the overseas-based players, they will do great given the opportunity.
I don't think that's happened in the last couple of years, where selectors have trusted our boys locally, with the Hunters playing their finals game as well, and other players overseas I think unavailable. The opportunity has been given to the boys.
Stanley says the players have been working on their defense structure and game plans. With the short frame of time, the players have a huge task to fully commit themselves before the game.
It'll show and test us where we are. We won't have any Hunters players playing or any other international players involved, which is really good, I believe. And I believe these boys will play from their heart, so it'll be a good test for them.
The final 17 players will be named this afternoon, along with the naming of the PNG Kumuls captain.
Defense plus game plan, just what we want to do and what we want to achieve the next couple of days before we take on the Australian PMs.
Rafaela Kaure, National EMTV Sports.
On a related note, the annual Prime Minister's 13 clash between Papua New Guinea and Australia is set for this Saturday at the Sir John Guy Stadium here in Port Moresby. With the hype slowly building, 12-time PNG Kumul Paul Eighton has expressed his disappointment at being brushed aside by PNG selectors since the 2013 Rugby League World Cup.
Paul Eighton is no stranger to the red, black and gold jumper, representing PNG on numerous occasions. Eighton, vice-captain of the Kumuls at the 2013 Rugby League World Cup, is not happy at not being considered for any selections at all over the last year. He told Australian NRL reporters that he has been brushed by the Kumuls following the unsuccessful 2013 World Cup campaign. Eighton alleges that the national selections have been politicized, claiming that he and other good players playing overseas have not been considered to represent PNG. This also comes after Panthers hooker James Seguiaro has made his alliance clear that he will be playing for the Kangaroos and not PNG. Seguiaro said his decision was based on the lack of respect to his father after all he did for rugby league in the country, and will pull on the Kangaroos jersey in this weekend's Prime Minister's 13 match in Port Moresby. Dion Kombeng, National, EMTV Sports.
Timothy Buipe, a PNG national living in Manila in the Philippines, has been appointed as the first Philippines National Rugby League Development Officer. In the last 2 years, PNG residents living in the Philippines have been involved in rugby league there to promote the code. Timothy is the latest Papua New Guinean working to promote rugby league in the Philippines.
27-year-old Timothy Buipe has been playing rugby league since he was in high school in Papua New Guinea. His favorite position was centre. Studying in the Philippines and enrolled at the Adamson University in 2013, Timothy studied customs administration. During his stay over there, he was introduced to rugby union by some of his PNG friends. He got himself playing with the Alabang Falcons rugby union team in 2014. That same year, he found out that there was also a rugby league organization called the Philippines National Rugby League, which he followed up closely on Facebook. He organized the first rugby league tryout and trained with 9 rugby union players who were interested. Timothy is now preparing a group of rugby league enthusiasts to train for their first rugby league game against a Hong Kong team in November. So many PNG nationals studying in the Philippines, it is no surprise for them playing a major role in introducing the greatest game, rugby league, to the local Filipinos. Mike Oime, National EMTV Sports.
Over to rugby union, Papua New Guinean-born Will Genia has been named as the Wallabies starting halfback for their opening World Cup match against Fiji tomorrow morning at 1 a.m. PNG time. Genia will face an informed Nicola Matawalu at the scrum, who has been instrumental for Fiji at the breakdown and in the backline. Given Fiji's strong performance against England in Game 1 of the World Cup, Michael Chika has also named the Pooper combination of Michael Hooper and David Pocock in the forwards.
Given their intriguing performance against the English Roses, Wallabies coach Michael Chika has named one of their strongest teams. Michael Hooper and David Pocock have been named in the forward pack alongside Scott Seo.
Very excited about it. The opportunities I had to play alongside Michael in the Rugby Championship, I really enjoyed.
I've really just gone for the team I think is going to that I feel is going to perform well in this match, based on the way we've trained over the last period. We haven't had a game for a fair while.
While Quade Cooper misses out on Game 1 selection, Chika has selected Bernard Foley to complement Will Genia at halfback. Matt Giddo will provide experience in the backline with Israel Folau at fullback, Rob Horn at inside centre and Tevita Kuridrani on the wing. One of the biggest matchups of the game, however, will be against Wallaby halfback Will Genia and Fiji's Matawalu.
First try of the game from Nicola Matawalu, the scrum.
Matawalu has been instrumental in driving Fiji's pack and controlling the game, something similar to Genia's strengths.
Flies now to Genia. Will Genia over the 22. Aaron Smith coming at him. Oh, what a try! What a try! Michael Hooper swooping onto the ball. Great.
With two halves in form and a heavy forward pack against each other, some could argue the winner of the game will be the team who capitalises on the technicalities of the breakdown. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
And still in the Rugby World Cup, France, who defeated Italy 32 points to 10 last week, will face Romania, while the All Blacks take on Namibia tomorrow morning. All Blacks coach Steve Hansen has named Sam Crane to captain the team, with Richie McCaw, Ma'anonu and other key players named on the bench to rest them for the bigger matches against Georgia and Tonga in the coming weeks. Well, still to come in True Guys Sports, judo, soccer, boxing and surfing. Stay with us.
True Guys Sports.
Good to have you back with True Guys Sports. As part of Japan's preparation to host the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, they are spreading out their support to various sports that will be competing at the Games. Under their program tagged Sports for Tomorrow leading to 2020, the Japanese government is selecting 2 sports from each country to assist in the development for the Tokyo Games.
The two sports identified for Papua New Guinea is judo and swimming. While swimming is a popular sport in the Olympics, it is gaining more interest in PNG. Judo is one sport that is still developing in the country. To assist in raising the level of judo in PNG, the Japanese government has assisted by supplying the PNG Judo Federation with training equipment as well as experts to assist in the training. The equipment included 100 judo uniforms, which will be used by the judo clubs for training and local competitions, while the expertise came from 5 judo masters who arrived in PNG on September 18th and will be in the country until September 28th to conduct training camps and seminars for the sport. PNG Judo has produced one Olympian in Raymond Ovinau, who competed in the London Games in 2012. Those interested to attend judo classes in Port Moresby can go to DBTI on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
To football, and regarding the decision over the New Zealand under-23 squad playing an ineligible player during the Pacific Games. The OFC Appeals Committee reconvened in Auckland, New Zealand yesterday regarding the appeal for a decision of the OFC Disciplinary Committee on July 12th made by New Zealand Football Incorporated.
On July the 12th, the Oceania Football Confederation Disciplinary Committee reached a decision regarding the eligibility of player Declan Wynne in a match between New Zealand and Vanuatu. As the player had assumed a new nationality on January 2015, he was required under relevant provision Article 7 to either have been born in New Zealand or to have lived in New Zealand for 5 years after reaching the age of 18, or to have a parent or grandparent who was born in New Zealand. After deliberations, the committee decided that Wynne was ineligible to play in the OFC Olympic qualifying tournament as he did not meet the requisite requirements set out in the FIFA regulations governing the application of the statutes. That committee formally communicated this decision to the New Zealand Football Federation on the 14th of July. Unfortunately, the player did not meet this criteria and was found to be ineligible. That particular match was played on July the 10th in Port Moresby. The decision has long-term ramifications for New Zealand, as huge financial investments have been made on the team, and while it directly affects one player, the Federation could have their own set of issues to deal with, considering upcoming major tournaments such as the Women's Under-20 and Senior Men's World Cup events. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
Come up. The Sankama Boxing Club has been presented with much-needed boxing equipment from a joint project with PNG and the European Union. The sets of equipment were donated to the sports club.
Ambassador Max Rai, the Director General of the Trade Division, who is also the project manager of the European PNG Trade 2, was pleased to donate the boxing equipment to the Sankama Boxing Club of NCD.
I would like to welcome Sankama boxing team and their managers, Ms. Rihata, to the department. And it is with much pleasure that we, the department, together with the European Union, who are funding our trade-related projects in the department, with a tune of about 6 million euros, which translates to about 19 million kina. With their consent, we have bought this equipment, having realized the great potential that boxing has in this country, and that was displayed very well by the SP Games, just recently concluded, where Papua New Guinean teams did extremely well.
The trade-related assistance program supports Papua New Guinea in its effort to use trade for inclusive development. Mr. Rai acknowledged and congratulated Sankama Boxing Club for winning 7 gold medals during the 40th Independence Anniversary Boxing Tournament. Ms. Riata, on behalf of the Sankama Boxing Club's management, extended her thanks and appreciation to the head of the European Union Trade and Related Assistance Phase 2 team.
This equipment will very useful. I can assure Ambassador Max and the Department of Trade and EU.
The Sankama Boxing Club has produced champions at the national level and the Pacific Games. Mike Oime, National EMTV Sports.
Well, PNG is one of the last surfing frontiers in the world, with many ideal surfing locations yet to be explored and discovered around the country. There's been limited surfer numbers in Papua New Guinea, Australia's unique neighbour, but surfing is a potentially fast developing sport in the country. MTV's Shane Saroya has more.
The world's surfers represent traditional surf camps set in idyllic surroundings around the point beach breaks in the country. From October to April, PNG's reefs, points and even the odd beach breaks turn on with the knot swells that picks up to 5 to 6 foot waves that pro surfers chase around the world. While this sport is gaining momentum, this country has a lot to offer. An organization known as World Safaris is a member of Surfing Association of PNG, and they have been representing surf operators there since 1997 and the development of surfing. Working together as a PNG in conjunction with the surf industry, tourism operators and traditional reef custodians have developed a unique and defining feature that crystallizes truly memorable PNG surfing destinations. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that's how we wrap up True Guy Sports tonight, but stay tuned, we'll bring you your weather details. That's coming up after this break.
True Guy Sports.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In southern region, mostly dry in all centres. In Momasa region, it's the same thing as well, mostly dry expected in all centres. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine expected in Kavieng, fine weather across Buka, Kimbe, Kokopo and Lorengau. And lastly, in the islands, all centres, dry weather, although morning fog. Taking a look at forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, Daru to Kiwai Island, Finschhafen including Vitia Strait, Siasi Island to Long Island, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters, waters east of Kiwai Island to Kerema, Yule Island through to Hood Point and Samurai Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters, and waters of Long Island through to Metang, Bogia to Wewak, Taitape, Vanimo, and the northern PNG Indonesian border, eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, Samurai Island through to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, Manus and its western group of islands, including New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And now let's take a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral and Solomon Sea sees slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea sees moderate to patches of rough weather with southeast winds at 15 to 25 knots. And Pacific Ocean sees slight to moderate with southeast to southerly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Now, before we go, as always, quickly recapping our main headlines again tonight. PNG's democracy needs strong political parties also. The process to record PNG's war history has begun, and the Kumuls prepared to take on the Kangaroos in this weekend's clash. Well, that does it for the bulletin tonight. On behalf of the entire news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi Jr. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay happy. Good night.